We thought it was all over. The question is it?
I don't think so. Although I had a look at the rest program, you could be an advocate to say that Leverkusen have a slightly easier rest program. I think Bayern will win the title this year, and deservedly so. They've been the best team in Germany now, but still, at least we have a bit of excitement. They are 6 points ahead. They have a better goal difference, and to be fair to them, they are the better team.
Hi and welcome to the Fussball channel. I'm your host Markus Fjørtoft, and as always joined by co-host Jan Fjørtoft. We are going to delve into the Bundesliga round, but first that we need to hear a little update from yourself. Over the weekend you were at Wembley covering the League Cup final, witnessing what is undoubtedly history.
It is. Imagine a great club like Newcastle United. They haven't won a domestic trophy for 70 years. And yes, I'm a Borough man, but I can still be neutral to see that the passionate fans of the Northeast, I must say, Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Newcastle. I was fortunate to play in the Premier League when they were all three up there. There was fantastic derbies going on there. But imagine a club like Newcastle haven't won that, and they so deservedly won it. And I guess everybody, I mean, all neutral fans, maybe except the Manchester United fans that don't want to see Liverpool win anything, and Liverpool fans, of course, would say that was deservedly. I mean, the way Dan Burn, I mean, he's the tallest man in football. He was flying in there, scoring that goal, and the enjoyment after the game was unbelievable. I was standing in the tunnel at Wembley as I was waiting for the interviews, and so I had a tunnel access. I was standing next to my friend Lee at Newcastle. He's the head of communication, or the guy who's bringing us the manager and the players. And I must admit that I was the first one who hugged him. And I must also admit, but don't tell anyone, that he's a Borough fan. So I've known Lee for a long time, but for everybody working in and around that club, I have to congratulate him. And it was a fantastic atmosphere at Wembley, Marcus, because these games, when you have a final, the stadium is divided. So if you are at Arsenal, you will have 3,000-4,000 away fans, but here they are divided in two. So it's a fantastic atmosphere, and two of the two most passionate supporters in world of football anyway. So yeah, it was great to be at Wembley. I was at Wembley for 11 hours. We did a pre-match show. We did features in the Box Park at Newcastle. I say at Newcastle, at Wembley Way, but it was only Newcastle were in there. So yeah, it was a great day out at Wembley. I love coming back there, Marcus. When you grow up, Wembley is the cathedral of football. I've been fortunate to play there twice. I played there with Norway against England 0-0, and then I lost the playoff final for the Premier League against your former manager David Hopkin. I remember always when I met him, we talked about that goal that he scored in the last minute of that game.
It's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a small world. But I was watching, and I must say, to make our bridge to German football, I was also sitting then at the ground and watching Eintracht Frankfurt, our Eintracht Frankfurt winning in Bochum, and was a much needed win for Eintracht, because it's getting close now with this Champions League thing with Mainz, Freiburg were a draw, so it was a good time for them to get a win. And Santos, who played instead of Kevin Trapp in goal, was maybe man of the match. So it was a great game.
Which is an interesting predicament Eintracht find themselves in with their captain Kevin Trapp and with Santo. And how do you ensure the smoothest transition, because that will happen at some point? But yes, plenty to play for still in the Bundesliga. We might have a title race. We might have a top four contention. We very much have that. We also have the relegation fight well and truly alive after Heidenheim beat Holstein Kiel. But let's start with this supposed title race, Dad, because we thought it was all over. The question is it over? 6 points now separate Bayern and Leverkusen, and yes, we can play around with it. If only Leverkusen had beat Bremen, etc. But the fact of the matter is, it's 6 points. Bayern have dropped points against Bochum and Union Berlin, and it does make you question whether the title race is alive, because Bayern's performances against, I suppose, lesser teams have been poorer. They also have a Champions League. Is there a possibility that this might end differently than what we predicted?
Well, before Leverkusen took it last season, this was the thing that we did all season. We somehow tried to build up the excitement. We thought it was all over, but it isn't now, as they say, their famous commentary in English football. But interesting that Company rotated himself to death against Bochum at home, and they were losing at home. And now a draw at Union. 1-0 up, and you think they will kind of get it, and then Ubrig made a mistake, which can happen to young goalkeepers. And then, of course, Leverkusen answering with what only Leverkusen can do, being down 3-1 at the Xhaka own goal, then 68, 88, 90 plus 4, they come back and win 4-3 in Stuttgart. I mean, that reminds us so of Leverkusen last season. But to your question, Marcus, no, I don't think so. Although I had a look at the rest program, you could be an advocate to say that Leverkusen have a slightly easier rest program. But Leverkusen, I think Bayern will win the title this year, and deservedly so. They've been the best team in Germany now, but still, at least we have a bit of excitement. They are 6 points ahead. They have a better goal difference, and to be fair to them, they are the better team. But as you were saying, being the devil's advocate, they're playing 2 very difficult games against Inter. Inter maybe be the Geheimfavorit, meaning that they are the secret favorite to Champions League. I mean, what a team they have. So maybe. But I think that it will be Bayern. We already said that, Marcus. So we have to stick to it.
Yeah, we have to stick to it. There's 2 ways of looking at it. One is the fact that they have 6 points ahead. They have a better goal difference. So essentially, you have to have Leverkusen. It's a 3-game turnaround. The flip side, and which is interesting, is Bayern are in a rebuild. So their squad, as opposed to previous years in which Bayern threw whoever they play with, Nils Petersen or Sandro Wagner or whoever up top, and all the other players, and you name it, that were the bench players or number 12, 13, 14, 15, and you knew they'd win. They can't do that to the same degree now. So the squad, in terms of the players that they can rely on, is not as strong. So when you put in then a few changes, and Ulbrich had a few great couple of games, that he's young, he's prone to obviously mistakes. Stanish is Dyer. It's not as reliable as before. And then with the Champions League program, you suddenly then see, okay, you're playing St. Pauli at home, and then who knows what can happen from that after they won against Hoffenheim. But it will be tough. If it will be tough, and we look at the program here as well, I mean, both have to play Dortmund, they play Augsburg, but nonetheless, I don't know. It will be interesting. It shifts from week to week, doesn't it?
As you are sitting there with your sweater, just to show you that you have a Master of Duke, and I have nothing in my terms of education, but I know so much about math, is that there are 24 points to play for, and they are, in the theory, 7 points ahead. Mm-hmm. So that meaning that you're down to 17. That means that you have to, that in that kind of formula means that Leverkusen have got to win every game. And still, Bayern could lose 2 or 3 games and they still be okay. So it's going to be hard, but it's interesting now at the end of the season, Marcus, because I think Company would have loved to do as he did against Bochum, because I think that is fair. Is it unfair against the other teams in the relegation zone? Yeah, absolutely. So just see that you are safe before these things happen at the end of the season. I understand that Company is doing that the main thing now for them is to find the balance between securing the Bundesliga, as they more or less have, and then do as well as they can to get to the final, the Champions League finalists at home at Allianz Arena. So I understand that so big time. But now we are talking about the St. Pauli game in 2 weeks' time. Okay, they have to win that. They have to be concentrated on that. And as you were saying, that you should avoid injuries as well up front with your striker. And as you were saying, Neuer out, Übrig, as also said, that he's been doing well. But just shows you that there is a bit excitement at the end of the season. I think that is great. It's great for German football, and it's great for Leverkusen, because Leverkusen, we were close, Marcus, to make an episode only to discuss what happened to Leverkusen, because although we predicted that this would be the difficult second season, but now they're back in the race after being knocked out of the Champions League, and only concentrate on that and the German Cup. So it's brilliant for the neutrals again.
Yeah, we're desperate to cling on to some drama, but I still don't think it's the last chapter is written on that. You can motivate yourself, you can be present for these big games, and I think that very much is the case for an RB Leipzig as well. No Champions League to focus on as opposed to Dortmund, but a team that have underperformed. Big question marks as to what will happen to management team, recruitment coming into the summer. And then they play against Dortmund, and despite Dortmund having plenty of shots and XGs and whatnot, RB Leipzig win 2-0. Xavi Simon, who has been questioned as to his performances this season, delivers with a goal and assist. They called it the El Crísico before the game, which I thought was a little funny pun. But yeah, 2-0 RB Leipzig against Dortmund. Niko Kovac lost 4 out of his 6 Bundesliga games as well.
Yeah, and saved his position as a Dortmund coach. I mean, and the credibility of the Champions League run. We heard that before. I remember Terzic took him to the final. That wasn't good enough, and he is gone. But I must say, and I agree with my former colleague of Sky Germany, Lothar Matthäus, who said that Niko Kovac got to stay on. I mean, and I 100% agree on that. You can't take one guy on and put him on the ship that somebody else has put up all the people and the team around there. And then you say to the summer, if you don't get into European competition, I mean that is not serious for me. That is not serious management. So then you get another one who is going to start this all over again. But you never know. And for all, you never know in Dortmund. For Marco Rose, he got 42 points now. I think it's 3 points up now to Mainz and Eintracht Frankfurt. So,
well, you could argue that. I mean, we've talked about a very underwhelming season at RB Leipzig. So we talked about them being they could be title contenders out of the season. We wouldn't have said they were title contenders if it weren't for the fact that Leverkusen did what they did last season, which took something extraordinary for Leverkusen to become champions, unbeaten. If you want to be pro Rose and pro sort of continuing his reign, if they get top 4 and qualify for Champions League, which is minimum, and they're still in the cup and win the cup, that is by all accounts a very good season for RB Leipzig. So it's important to keep that in mind. I think that we're in large part influenced of what happened last season in terms of our expectations. And then the question mark, is that enough? And have we seen enough in terms of Ross's imprint on the team or lack thereof for him to continue that? And that's where it'll be interesting to see where Klopp's sort of where he's meddling in terms of the day-to-day operations and what will happen going forward.
Yeah, but people have to understand that RB Leipzig is part of Red Bull, the Red Bull system, and they are quite hard on performances. Is it all down to performances? It's all down to development. So that is a fair question. But if the interesting thing now, 8 games before the end of the season, is how Mainz and Eintracht Frankfurt, they're the 2 rivals, by the way. They're not far from each other, Mainz and Frankfurt. After they are battling out for the Champions League places. And if you've seen signs of Eintracht as well, Union game at home, felt they're going to win that, didn't. Then they go to Bochum. Thank God they did that, because Bochum desperately fighting to stay in the Bundesliga, which was a great result for them. And you just feel that on the paper and the theory, Leipzig should have more than the 2 others. So you get a feeling now that Leipzig is coming closer and closer, and now it's the demand of Mainz and of Eintracht Frankfurt to get into the Champions League because you're so close. If you said to Mainz before the season you go into Europa League, wow, great, we'll take that. Eintracht Frankfurt, more or less the same. And imagine you're missing the most efficient player you've had in Mamouche. You're missing him in January. But the expectations are there. And I felt it when I was at Eintracht. I watched them against Leverkusen. I spoke to my old kind of journalists from back in my days. I thought they were old then. Sorry, boys, and they're still around, and now they're my age more or less. But so I made a bet with one of them, Pepe Schmidt. If you listen to this, he will know. €20. I said Eintracht will get into the Champions League. But as you were saying, Marcus, it's all down to results, and things change. We can talk about impact, we can talk about philosophy, we can talk about development. But at the end of the day, we're talking about trophies, position, money, getting into the Champions League. So I think Marco Rose, he has a fair chance of saving his job. Although we know that the Red Bull kind of stable of coaches, we can talk about Roger Smith, we can talk about different coaches, are kind of hanging around, waiting for a chance to have another Red Bull.
Exactly, and I think will be two big summers for RB Leipzig and for Dortmund in terms of the remaining.
And then I have a Red Bull. Then I have a Red Bull.
We're not sponsored. That's just you being a dedicated drinker of that since what, 89?
I addicted to Red Bull since 1989. True.
That's the tagline.
Yes.
As for the remaining European spots, Mainz played Freiburg 2-2, which I think was favorable for their competitors in around there. Core for Mainz got sent off. Our fellow countryman Hanke Olsen scored for Mainz, but 2-2 between the two teams, which, like I said, was favorable for the teams around them, one of which being Gladbach, who beat Bremen. And Gladbach, you got to watch out, play out with a hat-trick, Kleindienst as well, eventually got sent off as well, but they won, so they're very much in contention there. And then we have to talk about, we also mentioned Eintracht beat Bochum, but we also have to talk about one of the most informed teams in Europe, Dad. And one of the most informed team in Europe now is Augsburg. And Augsburg, at this point, last season, 35 points they were in form, they were looking for European spots, and they had a dramatic turn in form, only got 4 points after that, ended up on 39. They're now on 38 points, 1 point behind their total tally from last season. They're 10 games unbeaten. Their goalkeeper, Finn Dahmen, has kept 6 consecutive clean sheets, going 613 minutes without conceding. They are the team in Europe that's conceded the least in 2025 by 3 goals. They only conceded 2 goals. 22 points from their last 10 match days. It's only bettered by Bayern at 23. And they're surpassed Mainz by 5 points, who are Champions League contender. They're in incredible form. Currently 9th, 3 points ahead of Dortmund, done the double against Dortmund, have drawn against their fellow European contenders in Freiburg, RB Leipzig, and Mainz. And the Danish Torup and Augsburg are doing a tremendous job. And I'll be curious to see if they can latch on to the fighting for a European spot. And what a big achievement that is for a club that is, in large part, the lot younger brother, I guess, of Bayern Munich in the area.
Absolutely, they are for the region, and there are some. Toby Altscheffer, who is a friend of the podcast, who worked for the Bild Zeitung, he's also working with Augsburg, the Christian Falk. Mm-hmm. Christian Falk's son is a Augsburg more or less insider. We met him, young lad. He is, and I love that. And I think you described it well. There's a little brother of Bayern, been doing fantastic jobs there over the years. First fundamented by Stefan Reuter, who were a great player back in the days. He's gone now, but there are so many good qualities. There's a great philosophy, and as you were saying, the Danes are doing well in the Bundesliga now. You have Bo Henriksen who's doing it for Mainz as well, so it's a good school, so to say. I guess they will probably get in touch. They will probably learn from each other. So Augsburg, yeah, and if. Again, Marcus, simple math. If they have this tempo the last 8 games of the season, meaning they have 2.2 points the last 10 games, well, they will have over 20 another points, and then there will be a 59-60. Oh, Mainz and Eintracht, you have to watch out.
Your math is good. Your math is strong today.
Fantastic today. Fantastic.
That'll be interesting to see. It's always fun to see these clubs that people generally know less about in terms of how they're run. And there were quiet whispers of their European ambitions ahead of this season because of how they had an uptick in form under Torup. They started this first half of the season rather poorly, 3 points over the relegation at one point. and now find themselves, in a great bit of form, and proof that defense wins games as much as anything as well. And that, I think, concludes in terms of the games that we've gone through. We have to mention that St. Pauli beat Hoffenheim in that Friday game, Heidenheim with a critical win against Holstein Kiel. And that covers that, Dad. And so that leaves us for our last remaining bit. And that is the challenge I gave you, because the German national
team... I'm looking for my glasses. Always when you challenge me, I need my glasses.
Indeed. And I gave you a rather tough challenge because it was the German national team that released, I would say, a lovely jersey.
Oh, it's brilliant.
For their commemorating.
It was so German. I said that in a good way. And white. You saw Thomas Müller sitting there. Fantastic. And the goalkeeping jersey, that from Sepp Maier from 1974. Brilliant. I have to get one of them, Marcus. I will get you one when you have to have one back there when I'm going down to Germany.
I think we both need to get one. It's just a classic, and I recommend you watching the promo for the shirt, the video made. It was incredibly well made and very authentically German. But back to the challenge. The challenge was all-time Germany 11. The stage is yours. It's a tough task, but here you go.
It's a very tough task, Marcus, because there's not only so many great players. This is one of maybe the great. You can argue that this is, with Brazil, the greatest football nation ever. I mean, starting with a wonder from Bern, the miracle from Bern in '54, and then the '66 where they're losing on that Jeff Hurst goal against England. 74, 90, 2040. This is a fantastic football. And I was doing I'm not doing my math, but I was doing all the players, and the players I had to put out to the team, I mean, enormous. But I've done like I do when I do great. This is my team. There is a story. I don't want to take the whole stories, but there is also emotions that I'll put in there. And so I will go for 3-4-3 system, and in goal, it could have been when I did the Bayern greatest. I said it could have been Sepp Maier, because when I grew up, Sepp Maier was the goalkeeper. He was for Bayern and West Germany. Had long shorts, the biggest gloves you ever seen in football. But I have to go for Manuel Neuer. Manuel Neuer has been enormous. Invented the keeper model, as my colleague Peter Schmeichel, and I do spend a lot of time now with Peter Schmeichel. We always discuss goalkeepers, and he kind of took, in his generation, he took that to the next level, and so has Manuel Neuer. So he's there. So I have three at the back. In the middle, Kaiser Franz. The Franz Beckenbauer won everything as a coach, as a leader, and rest in peace. He left us a couple of years ago. It must be now. I have one next to him. It's just that I will tell you that I played against him because I needed some of that. I played against him. Jürgen Kohler was a Manndecker. He played man-man. And I always, my mate Alan Johnson, he played for Bayern Munich, and he said, Jürgen Kohler is this and that, but he goes close to you as an opposition. He goes very close to you. And I knew, and I always said to Alan, I just want to play once against Jürgen Kohler because I know that he will fit me so well because he would go so close to my back. And yes, I played against him, played against Dortmund, and I played a great game. I scored a goal against Jens Lehmann and Jürgen Kohler. So Jürgen Kohler in the three.
But there's also a slight inclusion in the fact that you played very well against Jürgen Kohler as well.
Yes. But the emotions are there. But this is the guy who's won everything. This is one of the best world champion, European champions, 1990. So this is a great player. Played for Bayern Munich, played for Inter. On the left side, although he's maybe not in a three at the back, Andreas Bremer. He's unfortunately died as well. One of the nicest men you can meet. I mean, his big moment in the history of football is 1990 penalty against Argentina. And he doesn't know, should he shoot with his right foot or his left foot? And he goes up and then he scores with his right foot against Argentina. And West Germany. That was the last time West Germany won the World Cup in Italy. So Andreas Bremer got to go in there. In midfield, I have 4 players. I'm not sure how they're going to sort out their positioning, but I will start with Paul Breitner. Paul Breitner was one of the best of his generation. I'm not the one who knows a lot of stats. I'm quite okay good in quiz, but he scored at the penalty in the 74 World Cup final, where West Germany won against the Netherlands. And when they lost the final in 82, he also shot the penalty. Paul Breitner got to be there. Lothar Matthäus, I mean, yes, I worked with him. I played against him, of course. He's the second player here I played against. But Lothar Matthäus got to be in there. He was the number 6, he was the number 8, he was the number 10, he was a libero, he was everything. He was just a fantastic, great footballer with a fantastic shot and also playmakers. Then I have 2 of this generation, Marcus, that I think deserve to be in there. Bastian Schweinsteiger, the captain when they won the World Cup. So Bastian Schweinsteiger got to be in there. Also a very nice lad. He's just one of those spiritual leaders. These leaders that you have in team that are infectious. No, what do you say? Contagious. Yeah. They're contagious or thing. And then I will put in the one who maybe won the most trophies of them all, Toni Kroos. Toni Kroos. I mean, Toni Kroos. Paul Breitner played for Real Madrid as well, but Toni Kroos has been there for ages. Also one of those good guys to have around. I met him in my other role doing the interviews with Toni Kroos, so he is in there. And then it's quite interesting, Marcus, because now the top 3, I could have a Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, greatest of his generation. I could have had Uwe Seeler, who was at his generation, never won a World Cup, which in Germany you have to win the World Cup because you feel that all the top players. Jürgen Klinsmann can be there. There's so many players I could put in. So I start. I have 3. I start with the obvious one. Is Gerd Müller. He's maybe the best goal getter ever been alive. Back in the days when I was studying the runs of players with back in the video med REW and FF, forward and backwards. Gerd Müller's run, he was unbelievable. Just check out his stats. Fantastic. Scored a winner in 74. Then the 2 last markers, they are a part of a film, and I'm not sure. Have you seen The Miracle of Bern? Wunder von Bern?
Yes, I have, actually.
Yeah, fantastic film. And it's the part of the history. This is the first time Germany can go abroad after the Second World War. This is the first time their flag is outside the German borders. This is the first time you hear the anthem abroad. They go to Bern with a kind of some lads who just go out and have fun, play football. They played against the best team in the world, who was Hungary with Puskás. They were beaten 8-3 in the group stages. In the final, they were 2-0 down, and they turned it around and won 3-2, of course, Germany winning the World Championship. And the guy who scored the winner, that was Helmut Rahn, called the boss. So Helmut Rahn is fantastic. He played his career for Rot-Weiß Essen. That was the most games he had in his career. So Helmut Rahn, Marcus, you have to check him up. But we have to respect football back in the days. And then the other one.
Great movie,
yeah,
by the way.
And then the last one, he's a symbol for a whole generation of German footballers. If you ask anybody who is a bit older than even me, they will talk about Fritz Walter. Fritz Walter from Kaiserslautern. I mean, one of the greatest footballers of his generation, a role model for everybody. So his will be Helmut Rahn, Gerd Müller, and Fritz Walter, 3 up front. Sorry for all the young players that I did.
People might say Miroslav Klose, but I mean, there are a lot of people that you will miss out.
Miroslav Klose in defense. I could have Bertie Fox. I could have Schellinger.
It's a tough one.
Schnellinger, I mean. Great players, but Germany have so many of them. So Miroslav Klose, I'm sorry, you're not in the team.
Just because you were all-time World Cup goal scorer doesn't mean you can get into the team, basically.
Exactly, and I take also Fritz Walter and Helmut Rahn. I know I haven't seen them play, but I think that it's about respecting the history. And sometimes, if I will say that till the end, there was football before Premier League. Dixie Dean broke all records. Yes, he played in the 30s, 20s and 30s, but it doesn't matter that he was the greatest goal goal scorers of all time. That was not a dig at Alan Shearer, who was the best I've ever played against. But so it's a respect to the older generation, Marcus.
And it's a mix. It's 120. We're giving you a challenge from the last 125 years as well. So it's only right that we
every generation will have have their representative. And as you were saying, the German FA, they celebrated their 125th birthday, so to say. Happy birthday. I'm so glad that I had a chance to play in that country. I'm a big fan of German football. I'm a big fan of Germany. I always enjoy being there.
And that concludes this episode, a little roundup, a little celebration of the German national team. We will be back with a couple of special episodes, including our reaction to the Germany games as they take on Italy in the Nations League, which will be interesting, a new wave of optimism.
And why? Why is that interesting for us Norwegians?
Yeah, well, we can play them potentially, right?
Yeah, we can play them in it's the winner we'll meet.
Yes.
Yes. So we will have Germany and Italy. I must say, Marcus, I want Germany in our group. Just because what we do, I would love to see Germany in our group.
Purely selfishly for us.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah. First of all, for our whole podcast. But I just love to go there. And I remember last time I went with Norway, I was a part of the delegation. We went to Germany and we beat them 1-0. So everything is possible in football.
That's right. I remember that under Drillo. Well, that concludes it. And we'll be back very shortly. But thanks for now. And we will catch up soon.
Auf Wiedersehen.